Mr. Jim Irsay, CEO and owner of the Indianapolis Colts, joins us now. Mr. Irsay, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, Ryan. I'm doing well, thank you. You make me smile to think about my old friend Hunter. It's been, 2005 since we lost him, and time flies by awfully quick. But it's a joy to be on here talking about Hunter's legacy some, and certainly really thrilled to be on with you. We haven't talked much through the years, and I'm just really excited how great you're doing, and a big fan of your life and where you are at this point. It just shows a lot of courage, and I'm just really excited to be here because we were all part of history back there in 1998, and it was a very interesting time.
So when you got this letter from Hunter S. Thompson, who is talking to you blatantly about a couple guys that you were invested in, what did you think when you received this letter? And what were you thinking in terms of, were you allowing the guys that you hired, Bill Polian and Jim Moore and everybody, to make the decision? Or was I just that big, flashy, strong guy that wasn't going to get crushed by sap freaks that you wanted as well?
Well, I tell you, with Hunter, we were really good friends, and we had many, many conversations and laughs, and I always tried to kind of catch Hunter when he was, kind of on the straight and narrow, which was kind of hard to catch sometimes, but I would, because he's one of the most brilliant men I've ever met, and being a writer myself, Dylan Thomas and Hunter are my two favorite writers ever. And, going back to that time, I tell you, I can unequivocally say it was a very, very close call. A lot of people in the league, I won't say it's 50-50, but it could have been 60-40 one way or the other. It was a very difficult decision. Bill Polian and I talked and had many, many long talks. And in the end, made the decision towards Peyton, but it was really a close call. I had a long trusted individual who'd been in the NFL a long time, just hours before the draft, and he said I'd take Ryan, over Peyton. But in the end, Bill and I we just kind of felt that we were going to be better off picking Peyton. But again, it was very close, and people forget how close it was back then, because really it was close to flipping a coin close.
Well, you know what? I think he made the right choice, and maybe Colonel Depp had something to say about it too, and who was CC'd there at the end of that letter.
Well, no question. I tell you, can I want to just real briefly, read something that Hunter wrote me in May 5th of 1997, right before that letter, and on an original copy of Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail, he scrawled out this barrage of words at me, and Cameron Crowe, the great director in Hollywood, and Jerry Maguire, when Cameron read it, he said, "Man, that's some of Hunter's best work." But what I'm going to do now is I have this to read, and this is Hunter, May 5th, 1997, scrawling some mad words at me as he scrawled about you coming out in the draft. So here we go on 3, 2, 1.
To Jim Irsay, the Colts suck because you diss the whole concept of team or even gang. The Colts act like a third world transient in a holding pen with just enough whiskey and weirdness and talent to be competitive, but soon they will start getting busted. Small things at first, but soon bigger and faster and uglier, and your shame will be as the shame of many of your days. which will be spastic episodes full of crooked cops and wrongful dishonor. That is what I see in your future, James. For yesterday, you poor bastards, because you're too dumb to even fake a team concept or even to say the word "we" in public. That's why you can't have any fun with the Colts, and you won't have any fun with the Browns or the Whores or the Globetrotters. Be careful, James. Your greed-crazed outbursts are beginning to rub off on people.
Oh, wow.
How did you two become friends? And how did you have this relationship where he could just come talk to you like that?
I tell you, a couple of guys, Cameron Crowe, I helped out on Jerry Maguire, and Cameron had known Hunter through the years with the On at Rolling Stone and everything, and then Doug Brinkley, just a well-known great writer in this country, a lot of political biographies and is on CNN a lot. Doug was kind of like an understudy for Hunter and kind of helped Hunter keep it together. When Hunter, wasn't that eager to pick up the pen and work very much, and John Walsh used to go up there and I talked to John and Hunter would be there, and it'd be all times of the night. With Hunter, he'd wake up at 5:30 in the afternoon and go to sleep at 8 or 8:30, Mountain Time. So you had to, if you couldn't sleep, you could always call up Hunter for some friendly advice or some fun. His schedule was like none other. But I tell you, it was just so hilarious, just because he just loved the NFL so much. And, honestly, Ryan, he was a big-hearted guy, a grandfather, and I tried to talk to him some about getting sober and those sorts of things, but he just didn't have that interest, and it was heartbreaking when the suicide happened and everything. Anita, his wife, I knew well, and it's just tough. He covered Hemingway's suicide in '59 as a young journalist, and he had it set in his mind that when his body, was given out too much, that was going to be that, and I talked to him the day before he committed suicide, and he just was different. He said, I love you, James, and he never talked like that, and I said, man, what are you talking about? And the next day, it kind of happened, and it was really, really painful because, when you lose someone to suicide, at first you're kind of pissed off.
Right.
You're like, damn it, Hunter. He was 67 in 2005, so now he'd be 83 years old. But he was something, a one of a kind, no doubt. And we had so many funny conversations. And boy, he loved the NFL and loved football and just an American icon, just really a brilliant man, one of the 3 or 4 smartest guys I ever met in my life. The guy was incredible, and it was a big loss when we lost him. But it was great. The impact he left with his writing is just incredible, and miss him to this day, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing some of that. I told the story a little bit earlier. I think it was 3 years ago. I was in Indianapolis speaking at a recovery event, the Healing Place, and a friend of mine reached across to me after the event and said, hey, Mr. Irsay and Ryan Ballard would love for you to come over to the facility and say hi and see him in the war room on draft night. And I was just taken aback. For the longest time, I looked at, my NFL career is so toxic. And once I left prison and got sober and found this new way of life, the relationships that I built and made, and I just want to tell you personally that night was incredibly meaningful to me, and it's something I always look back to as a kind of a shining beacon on where I've come from and where I'm going.
Well, I mean, that's so awesome. I mean, like Darius Leonard says in Kick the Stigma PSA that's been going around that we put together, it's all right not to be all right.
Right.
And you've helped so many people just coming through what you've come through. Your straight hope and experience is going to change a lot of people's lives, and you might be able to help that young quarterback coming out of college at 22 and say, hey, think a little bit before you make some of those turns, because you might be, in the wrong part of town if you're not careful. And it's tough. Guys come out 22 years old, they're instant millionaires. People say, why is that tough? That's the luckiest thing in the world. But, if, let an alcoholic win the lottery and you got trouble, it doesn't usually go well. But as you really are a blessing, and you're here for a reason, and God has a purpose for you, and to see you so strong and doing so well. I mean, it's just such a testament to what we have to do in this life, because it's really, to me, it's about the spiritual struggle, because whether it's alcohol or drugs or depression, or no matter what you go through, it's as we say, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, but we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yes, sir.
And that's really, to me, the biggest thing is we all are faced with tough spiritual crossroads, and it breaks my heart sometimes to see humans judge humans, because we have no business judging. I leave that to a power I call God, and my business is to love and forgive, and the rest is in God's hands, and so it's an awesome thing, to sit here in 2021 in March, and here you are, here I am, you're hosting the show, looking so strong and doing so well. It's incredible. But we really do. I know I do. I try to reach out to all our players that have gone through difficult times in any way, shape, or form, and you're always rooting for things to get better. And the work you're doing is tremendous, Ryan, and really, I just so proud to see how awesome you're doing, and we're all locked in that moment in '98 in NFL history, because it really was one of the greatest draft years and moments ever. And God has its reasons why things work out, but we're both here happy and healthy on this day, and that's certainly a testament to amazing grace, brother.
It is. It definitely is. Thank you for all that. I appreciate it so much. Hey, before we get you out of here, when as an owner, does word get back to you? Like the war room, when Bill Polian and Jim Mora and all the scouts are in there, and they're talking about, hey, you need to go with this Leaf guy. And then there's another version of like, no, we have to go with the Manning ones. I mean, how much of that gets back to the owner ultimately? And when it was all said and done, did the Manning troop, did they turn around and be like, hey, I told you so. I told you this was the way it was supposed to go?
Well, really, for me, first of all, this is my 50th year in the league, so I started in training camp in Golden, Colorado 50 years ago. Johnny Unitas nudging me in the lunchroom, saying, "Move your ass, son." And Johnny Unitas sat next to me, and the rest is history, unfurling, but before me as time went along. So I started picking up jock straps in the locker room for $5 a week, and did every job in the organization, and was general manager at 24. So it's a little different from my perspective. When I hired Bill Polian, him and I were colleagues. I mean, him and I and Steve Gutman and George Young are the ones who developed the draft under Rozell's direction in the late 80s in New York. The cap, I mean, that we see today. And so with Bill and I and those sorts of things, my thing is to be supportive because I know how hard it is to be a general manager and the pressures that are on you. And really, Peyton, not at all. I mean, Peyton's such a tremendous guy, obviously, going, into the Hall of Fame this August. And I can't say enough about him and just his humility and his appreciation. I mean, look at, he knows it's tough to play quarterback in this league and to be a big-time college player, to be, even drafted, much less drafted in the first round, much less drafted in the first 2 picks. I mean, that's just incredible. And, sometimes circumstances happen where it just doesn't work out that way, and that's just the way it is. But he's always been incredible and humble about it, and because he knows how hard he had to work, to overcome and to be great like he became. So
definitely,
it's awesome. And ironically, also today, Ryan, is the 50-year anniversary that Hunter S. Thompson sat in the Polo Lounge at the Beverly Hills Hotel in Los Angeles, which I know well, and headed off to Vegas for, the famous Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. So it was a long time ago. Him and his counterpart are having a pre-drink before they hit the road. Little did he know, that he was going to be, sniffing ether halfway. Like you said, it was around Barstow when the drugs kicked in.
Yeah.
The famous line in the book, and that read is quite a madness read, a journey, but it's really great writing. It more than anything, it's just incredible the way Hunter could turn, checking into a hotel. Hunter turns it into, a Lion Country safari adventure. I mean, he was just such a great writer, and through it all, that's what he's remembered as. Not the craziness and the drugs and alcohol. All that stuff is just a sideshow. But what a writer he was. I mean, one of the greatest American writers ever, and that's how I'll always treasure and remember him so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're listening to Jim Irsay, owner and CEO of the Indianapolis Colts. Mr. Irsay, thank you for taking the time today to talk about Hunter, to talk about 1998, and just continuing to be a beacon for those who still struggle. I appreciate you a ton.
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me, Ryan, and good luck with the show. I'll read big shoes to fill with Rich gone.
Yeah.
I heard he just made a double bogey in Hawaii. So.
Well, that wouldn't be a surprise. So, yeah. Thank you, Jim.
All right. Well, take care, and God bless, man.
Yes, sir. Yes,
all
sir.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Jim Irsay.
That was incredible.
Was it?
That was incredible.
Okay, I was too.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
That was okay, good. All right, yeah. This was Rich's idea. He called me yesterday out of the blue and asked me. It was how kind of him. He said, "Hey, would you mind? What do you think about this idea if we had Jim Irsay on to talk about the Hunter S. Thompson letter and the 1998 draft and everything?" I said, "Great. That would be a great segment."
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.